Well, I say yes because it's the light source and it carries light codes and it has information. And our program is information. It depends on which information you're tapping into. So the people who are tapping into the lower frequency information, this is why they project for lower frequency holograms. A hologram is just simply what our consciousness is projecting out, and it's creating this. You guys talk a lot of crap.
Hologram.
So there's just multiple holograms being projected through our consciousness belief system, which is what we are projecting out. And
As a collective.
As a collective. So there's multiple different collectives who are believing the same thing and creating a hologram. So for instance, I live in a hologram that's different from, someone down the street because I know that I'm a creator. These people we're living in the same building, which is the town, but projecting the different information. That's why we're experiencing a different reality. So it's all that this is how we're all one. We're all one because we all come from the light consciousness. We all started with the light, but through the experience that we designed this way to be this challenging, and then what we know whenever our soul decides to participate is that we're going to drop down into lower frequencies, and it's
when we participate in the lower frequency.
when we decided to participate in the human experience, the physical experience. It would be good for us to call it a physical experience instead of a human experience to help us understand that this is a physical body, and the only reason our soul needed it was to have this vessel to move around in. Just like the mothership is a vessel, we needed that to house us, to house the energy, to house the physicalness that the energy can lead to. So the energy is all around us in this mothership, but it's our choice to see the energy, to choose the energy, or to choose to not see it. But until we do choose it, we're asleep to it. That's the veil of illusion. The veil of illusion is believing that we aren't the creators of this. The truth is, we are the creators of this. This is how I create everything that I have, because I know this truth, and I know the power that we have, each individually. This is the story of Jesus.
So
I just really want to figure out why they named him that. That's my hold up with the whole thing. Why Jesus? It's just interesting. What's that name about? I tried, but I'm just asking enough to hopefully the information will come. But the story of our possibilities is a physical form. Jesus came from God. What is God? God is the sun. God is light. God is source. Hola.
God is also all of the other stars out there and everything all around it. Other stars, those are suns as well?
I think the stars you're thinking of are just part of the illusion of this. Calm down. We've already gotten over it. It's just part of this. We had to create this atmosphere so that we could be reminded of who we are. Everything, everywhere, everything around us has the ability to remind us how powerful we are. When you look at the stars and you're like, wow, that's so magnificent. Holy crap, it's so beautiful. It's a reminder that we are that. We are those little bitty specks of light in the darkness. Does that make sense? Everything we created to remind us who we are. Everything. So instead, people look up and like, wow, that's so pretty. That's the sky and stars. It's not just the sky and stars. It's us. It's a reflection of us. We are that.
Okay, So the creation of the moon.
Thank you for asking.
We
I
got
have new
deep.
information- I have new information about that too. I don't believe that the moon is a negative light. I believe it's also part of the creation for us to see. I'm still receiving information about it, but I have adjusted and evolved my belief system in the moon because I feel like it does hold some form of significance, obviously, to how we view ourselves in phases, in emotions. Like maybe the moon is our emotions, you know, and it's up there in the darkness, really, really bright. But what happened is people began honoring it to a point that they forgot about themselves, that they thought, well, the moon does everything. So many people believe that whenever the moon is at this certain point, that's whenever the crops grow better. But that's just a bunch of people believing this, so the crops grow better. And it took our attention away from the sun, which is our true light source. But we did this whenever we separated ourselves from the light source. So we did create the moon through our decision to separate ourselves from our Christos light source, which is why people think the sun is so dangerous and it causes cancer, or the worst thing in the world ever, cancer. But because there's so much fear about this, that fear created this light in our darkness.
Wow.
So the moon with the ocean.
I still believe that the moon could fall out of the sky, but I think it would disappear because enough people start believing back into their own Christos light, which is the sun. So whenever we say it houses negative aliens, it houses our darkness. We are the negative aliens. Our lower frequency decisions are the moon, are the reason there's a false light in our darkness. Entiendo.
So, you've evolved so much today.
I just haven't discussed any of this with anyone yet.
Have
But
you had this before then? Not
I've had it for a while. But
right.
this is, again, if I were to claim like I once did, that the moon is negative and we shouldn't honor it because it has negative aliens, that's just me giving my power away and also saying I'm not the creator. Saying that someone else created this existence. That's not true. We created it through our belief system. So the more of us that fell from our light and chose lower frequency, boom. There it is. There's the message. When you look up into the darkness and you see a bright moon, that just shows us how many people are still connected to the lower frequency program.
So that's going to be our guidance as well.
Yeah,
So,
this whole time.
so why does the moon become full and closer and farther and, you know, the crescent moon, the hunter moon?
I think it's phases of our awareness, our belief system, our truths, our emotions. So we're filling it up because of how many people are investing in the lower frequency.
And the menstrual cycle stuff.
Yeah.
Connects to the menstrual cycle phases. That's the whole story with it.
Maybe I would say the fear around creation, because we didn't need to bleed to create life, and through the first divinely born child who came out, not alive, that woman decided something is wrong, I'm bleeding, and connected this to femininity. And instead of just accepting it as this is divine, this soul did not choose to come into this physical experience, and stayed in their high frequency, maybe this is how we began the bleeding process, the shedding. So it's called shedding. Shedding the
Because
fear.
women have the 28-day cycle, which is what the moon is, the 28 days.
Yes, yeah.
And the moon represents the feminine.
Yeah.
the freedom.
So we connected all of these things. And so the more fear, the brighter a moon. The more the moon appeared, the more the moon appeared. But it just doesn't resonate with me at all anymore that there's a negative alien agenda. Because we came here pure, and that's just, again, people wanting to think that we aren't powerful enough to create this.
Like there's something
Lower
outside of
dimensions.
us, but it's not.
It's not, it's us.
That was my time.
Yeah, I know.
What did you say about the Anunnaki?
The Anunnaki are the ones that claim came and began enslaving humans.
Anunnakis.
And I really haven't spoken much about Anunnaki. They were considered the negative alien agenda. But maybe it was because,
I've heard that was a story in itself. But I
yeah,
don't know too much, but I've heard the opposite.
I feel now in this moment that because there were 12 different tribes, stellar civilizations, who started the humans, maybe it was the group of, you know, the majority of humans that came from that star system, that they decided that through history, through maybe that, more of those people originating from that tribe, they decided to claim that that tribe are the negative ones. But maybe that tribe decided they, you know, more physical forms fell into, because they were family. And just like in most families, it's a generational curse, if you will, or karma, that in each family, if there's an alcoholic, there's another alcoholic, same with, okay, if there's one of this star cluster that chose heavy lower frequencies, and then the next one chose it because of the stories we tell, and we say to do this, and we say to fear this, and then it just passed along. So maybe this star cluster got the blame for the division of unity. So I feel like, just like with everything else, that is polarity is a trap. So for me to claim that a negative alien agenda created all of this to entrap us is me saying something outside of myself did this, and that's still me being trapped.
I remember the first time you kind of said that was on that podcast with Elevating. I listened to the whole thing. I loved it.
I kind of mentioned
That
it,
was the first time I heard you say it. I was like, yes.
and then I was like, I don't have enough information
Yeah.
yet. I'm not going to go too deep.
Yeah, but just that little bit. I'm like, yeah, of course you made it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Polarity, good, bad, that kind of thing.
Or duality. maybe.
Duality.
Separation.
So the more we each individually claim responsibility and contribution for the lower frequency, the lower dimensional reality, consciousness, then the more we can rise out of that consciousness and expand into higher awareness. Because without our knowledge of our contribution, we don't make changes, we don't evolve. So to evolve, we have to accept our contribution to every single cinematic, the 3D, everything. In some way, we've created every single bit of that through believing in all of the things that we're told. And the other thing is, what I know for a fact is anything that is in some way public knowledge is out there because it's allowed to be. So this information that I'm sharing, I've never heard before, and I don't think it would be something that we will see a lot of people speak about, because the only thing that gets out there is what is meant to, what keeps us entrapped, you know?
So now that, the acknowledgement of the phases of the moon, for example, we still don't want to give her power away just because the moon's in this phase. This is why I feel this way.
Right, because we're saying that the moon has power over me, but what
or
it
any
is
astrology or any,
it's
what's happening.
collectively there is energy you can tap into based on how many people are fearing such and such at this time the moon is changing.
Collective projection.
Yeah. When the moon is at its fullest, it's full of most fear, which is why people do respond in crazy ways and weird things happen. But we've also given it that. People say all the time, oh,
Right.
full moons, everybody gets crazy.
Yeah.
Well, because you're claiming it. So you're creating it.
So what about the ones that are like, oh, this is a positive emotional release on my full moon? The other side of it.
Well, I guess then they're saying that they are powerful enough to do that on their own. So in some way, there's still fear about our own power.
So, unlearning the low vibrationals that I've been in my whole life, the structures and then that culture.
In many lives, you've been programmed. You've been on the same program.
Yeah.
But I would say also in many lives, you've awoken to your truths. And this lifetime, it's compounded from your other parallel realities where you're waking up. But the more in this one, the more you choose. This is why you're here. This is why we're all sitting here right now. Is because we're trying to break out fully of this program. And the only way we can do that is to continue to choose this healing path. And all the healing path is to remember the way we fully heal completely is to completely accept that we created every single bit of our physical experience down to the finest detail through the programs that we have been experiencing in all of our lives.
So,
So for me, I will not necessarily exchange energy with the existence of the moon, but I will honor the fact that it is created through our own consciousness. So the moon is also a hologram. It's our hologram. Showing us, look how much you've collected. This is why there's a false light. We all have a false light inside of us. It's called our ego.
how does a hologram have such a powerful impact on the oceans? Because that hologram,
That's an old program for you to think everything you've been told is part of the program. The moon does not affect the oceans.
what
The oceans-
causes the oceans to...
The same thing that creates the weather. This is a controlled environment, controlled by our higher councils, the ones that are observing everything we're doing. And it happens exactly the way it's supposed to in the different locations that it needs it. I mean, down to the detail that child trafficking is a consciously created through a collective amount of people. Down to the details. So the more we can all take responsibility for that, the more we will make a difference. This is how we do actually change our reality.
Can you break that down? How we create human trafficking? Just so
Fear. Fear is the lowest human physical emotion. So that could be, I mean, I don't want to get too involved in that conversation, but the first child that disappeared or something, that guardian said this, and this created this, and this fear created this, and then the first human that decided they were going to have an attraction to a child created the next thing, you know? It's through this, like, lower density fear. It's all fear. Fear creates everything. Fear creates crime. Crime does not create fear. Everything. To live the most blissful, joyful life, don't concentrate on these things.